Hello again, welcome to another video. This time the video will be on something I actually do myself, rather than something I would like to talk about and advise about. See, I tend to like to describe myself as thinking like a state. This is because I have observed constantly that I don't think about things in terms of single people or single morality. I tend to think in terms of a state. For example, why is slavery bad? Let's take one of the most easy moral questions. What is my first usual answer? It results in less taxes. That is my biggest justification for what ends slavery. Or at least the first one I will generally present. Why go to war? It furthers state interests. And of course, why balance the budget? It makes state management easier. I don't know why I think like this exactly, but it is a general thing I have noticed. I have a hard time thinking outside of a state's mindset. Why do something? What does it do? How does it benefit? I could care less about emotion or intention. I just care about policy, result, and how to achieve it. Now, I don't know if this is good or bad or not in truth, but it is how I think. So I figured I might as well go into it. See, I tend to take the point of view of the state. Or the country, as one might say. And I look at policy, action. I could not care less about your moral inclination or why you want things done. What is your policy? What do you want to do? And for both, simple question. What are the results? Maybe I have some morality in me. Maybe somewhere, I don't freaking know. That is generally how I think and observe things. I find it difficult to care about emotional pandering, because it means nothing. No person choking out on their own blood because the state failed them is going to care about your emotional appeals. Not a single one. The state's goal is to run itself, to get results. It could care less about emotion because emotion is not what saves lives. It's not what brings in tax. It's not what allows you to pay for important things. Emotion, plain and simply, is a non sequitur, completely irrelevant. Emotion is not here. There is no emotional factor. Policy, action, results. Do what, for what reason, and what will come of it. For example, one may say invading another country is bad because it spends lives. However, if I deem it as such to result in more profit for everyone and to result in more lives being produced later on, I still see that as a win and I will still fully support that war. Overthrowing a foreign government makes managing them easier? Go right ahead. Destroy a culture? Does it make people's lives better? Yes, go for it. Does arguing on the basis of tradition help stability and improve people's lives? Then I'll do it. Simple as. I could care less about your ideals. Your ideals will die on a stone and mean nothing. However, the results of your beliefs will last far longer. It does not matter if your ideal intention is to result in world peace. If you can't get there, I could care less. Plain and simply. I don't know if this is right. Truthfully, I don't. It is completely heartless in thought, but it results in logic based on results, and that is important to me. If you want to make your country better, presumably you need results, because if you don't have results, well, people aren't going to be able to eat on ideals alone, are they? So, results it is. Can my beliefs be brutal a lot of time? Yes. For example, if you watch my video on how to solve the debt of the United States and reach a tax-free state, it involves, let's face it, pretty cruel measures in terms of how much austerity is being engaged in. The abolishment of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, bare minimum, I would frankly argue for more cuts, is already a massive, massive stroke of cruelty. But it gets results, saves a lot of money, and combined with raising taxes, which is a cruelty in its own right, you can speed through it. Brutal, really, but it eventually leads to results and the end of cruelty. I see no problem with this, because there is no good solution. There is no good way out. You can't say, oh, well, if we just keep slowly working for progress. No. That isn't an option at this point. People's lives are at stake, so you can't go half-cocked. You also can't engage in half measures. You need to look at the situation, make a good, thorough plan, and then execute it with efficiency, leaving no room for small half measures. Either do or don't. Simple. We've tried, oh boy have people tried, to engage in half measures, compromise, other actions to result in positive change. Have they worked? Freak no! So I'm tired of pretending like compromise is an answer. It isn't. So, what do? Look to the state. What is best for it? How will that carry out to benefit the people? So on and so forth. Look at the people, say, how can I make sure they help the state? And then look at the state and say, how can I make it so that it runs efficiently and doesn't harm the people? Because you can't make it help the people, really, because it is a monopoly on force, which one bad actor gaining control of results in massive, massive suffering. So, you can't really trust it to make their lives better, but you can absolutely minimize the suffering it causes. Defang it, if you will. And, in order to do that, you must look out for its interests, first and foremost, so that even once it's defanged, it still has a lot of strength, enough to keep itself alive and protect its interests. So, assassination, war, trade, destruction, I see no issue with any of it so long as it benefits the state and its policies, and more importantly, results that help the people. Plain and simply, I think like someone playing a grand strategy game. Think EU4, Crusader Kings 3, Victoria 3, or Hearts of Iron. The end goal, whether you like it or not, is to improve the state's position and its power. Helping the people is the end result of that, yes. In fact, I would argue that is the goal and reason why you want to get more power to it. But regardless of how or what your goal is, you must, at some point, say that the state must be looked into because it is the lead. We are in a world and a time of states. That has been true for years upon years, millennia even. There is not a person on this planet that lives outside of some state's control. You may say, what about Antarctica? Yeah, even still, that's under the control of the UN and every single state in it. And even in the disputed border regions of the world, the states still govern there. People may not like to hear about it, but they still do. In fact, it's very common for people when they learn of land unclaimed to merely go over there and start a state. We must in essence, from what I can see, look through the lens of the state, so that's how I do. It is entirely immoral. Well, actually amoral. It does not care for morality. Just results. But if it works, I don't see the problem here. If it saves lives, we still win. And so, I think like a state. Every person, an individual, another tribute to the state, who can do their job, contribute to society, and ensure a better life for the state and themselves. Cogs in a machine, moving continually like clockwork. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not. Come to your own conclusion on that one. But have a good day. I gotta get to sleep eventually, so hopefully I'll be good. Anyways, I'll let this upload, and good night.